In 1519, Hernan Cortez made a decision that would echo through history. Upon landing on the shores of the New World, he faced impossible odds. Outnumbered and surrounded by uncertainty, he gave an audacious order: burn the ships. With no way to retreat, his men had one choice: fight to succeed or die trying. And they did succeed. Cortez's story isn't just about conquest, it's about commitment. It's about making bold decisions, eliminating excuses, and going all in on your vision. Welcome to Burning the Ships, the podcast where we explore what it means to take risks, push boundaries, and refuse to look back. I'm Jason Seward, your host, and each episode we'll share stories, strategies, and insights to help you tackle your challenges head on, overcome obstacles, and make your own history. This is Burning the Ships. Let's get started. Welcome to Burning the Ships Weekly Ramble, and I'm your host, Jason Seward, and today I'm going to talk about the importance of resetting in the context of vacation and just time away from, the quote-unquote grind. Before I get into that, I'll do JJ's Joke of the Week, and I just pulled this one up. I am almost certain, we've been doing these jokes for a while, I'm almost certain he's given me this one before, but I was not going to go back and look at every one we've done to see. So if he has, if y'all have heard this one before, I apologize, but here's JJ's Joke of the Week. Why was the math book sad? It had too many problems. And that's JJ's Joke of the Week. So my topic this week is going to be around the idea of, and again, like every one of these rambles, I'm giving it from my perspective, and sometimes those perspectives change. And in this particular topic, I have really had a major perspective change over the last couple years, mainly because I'm doing something different now with my career in my life than I was the 17 years prior. When I was working a corporate career. So I recently, and it kind of coincidentally worked out where this was back-to-back weeks, but I spent 2 weeks on what I would call vacation. So we go with our family and so Katie and the 2 kids, and then friends of ours, Jake Metz and his family. He's got 3 kids. Our wives are really close. All of our kids are really close. And we've been going to the Outerbanks of North Carolina together as a family. I think this was the 11th year straight that we've done it. So we rent a cottage down there for a week, go down there. We've got all of our routines that we do for the week. And most of us just sitting on the beach every day and playing. So that's kind of a shoe-in. We're going to do that every year. That's our number one vacation. So earlier this year, Katie and I set a goal, and I've shared my goals on here several times. But one of them was around us doing a certain number of date nights, and then every quarter, every couple months, getting away for a couple nights, maybe just for a long weekend or something local. And then at one point this year, we wanted to, because we haven't done it in a while, have just a vacation with just the 2 of us, right? So what we elected to do this year was go to the Bahamas. So we went to the Hyatt Baha Mar, which is right there in Nassau, real close to Atlantis, for anybody familiar with that area. And, the only week that we could fit in to do this, because of all the kids' activities and sports and them going back to school soon and all that, was the week right after we got back from our family vacation, which was the Outer Banks. So, and I'm pretty fresh off of that. This is my first week back after those 2 weeks that I'm recording this. So it was back-to-back weeks of, again, vacation. Now, at the same time, Bill was also, or during that, it was kind of overlapping, but he also had a 2-week vacation that they had planned out a while ago as well. And so Bill and I had to do a lot of preparation in advance of this, because we didn't know this when we planned all this, but we are in the middle of extraordinary growth within 608B Capital. Um, so from a timing standpoint, it's not the best time for both of us to get away, right? So we had to do a lot of planning leading up to this, making sure we had everybody on the team, which at this point is uh, Ted Hillenbrand and Tim Blodgett, but had everybody on the same page of kind of how things will flow while we're out of here. So obviously we had to carve out time to meet with them, to just keep things going, to handle tasks as they come up and stuff like that. So we got through all that. Yeah, it was essentially 3 weeks. Bill was gone a week. We were both gone a week at the same time, and then I was gone a week. So we are coming out of that stronger than ever. Didn't skip a beat. Didn't miss a thing while we were gone. So it was really eye-opening for us that, this thing can and will continue to be run by us, but we can do so in a way that allows us the flexibility to kind of come and go and do what we need to do anywhere in the world, really. So the topic, though, that I want to talk about is the importance for me around just an occasional reset from the grind, right? And the grind being just constantly thinking and acting and doing everything involved with growing a business, right? The grind like I said, for years was in my career, trying to grow my career. And I was in a sales career that was also heavy service work. So it was hard for me to get away for any extended amount of time without having to pay attention to things that were going on in that career. But where I mentioned, like, I've kind of done a big shift is I used to, like, my routine when we would go on vacation would be to set everything up in advance where I could literally keep my phone off the entire week, where I could get my head in a space where all I was thinking about was what I was doing on that vacation, which was my family and friends or whatever we were doing. And I would do that. I did that consistently for years under my previous career where, I can remember several years literally powering my phone off, putting it in my suitcase, and I like we get there on Saturday, I wouldn't even look at it until Wednesday, like for 5 minutes, just make sure nothing was on fire, and then I'd turn it right back off. So I might look at my phone twice in a week, which was not easy to do, but that's how I did it. Now where I have and I needed that. Like I grinded so hard in my career when I was working that I needed to get excited about a chance to have like a week to just completely do nothing, not think about anything, just relax. And I would always, if I didn't have that, I would have a tough time sustaining that grind, right? But all I would need is that week every year, and it would be a mix of like that week, and then I'd go on a golf trip for a few days with my buddies every year. Those are kind of like my big resets, and that would do it. I'd come back, a filled cup. I would be ready to rock. Got all my fill of everything I needed for relaxation, and it would always make me a better producer on the back end of these trips and vacations and resets. So the big difference the last few years has been I'm having a very difficult time completely shutting off the business mind, right? For years, I got myself to a point where I did not think about my job while I was on that vacation, unless something somehow made its way through, to me. But I didn't think about it, right? Okay, there were occasional years I was in insurance, so like we might go down there and a hurricane had just come through, or it might be on the way, so I'm having to do a little bit of service work there. But for the most part, I had no problem, didn't even faze me one bit. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. Well, these last 2 weeks, I had a very difficult. Now, I was present for sure. Like I was there, but it was very difficult for me not to peek at my phone every couple hours just to make sure nothing was going on that needed my attention, to make sure, um, no emails were coming through that needed my attention. Now, there's easy ways to like levers to pull to mitigate that. So I could put an out of office response or something like that. There's ways to make it where I'm not leaving anything abandoned. But me personally, I want it to be involved, even on vacation. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Throughout like the first week of this time away when we were in the Outer Banks, um, I every few hours was checking my phone, right? And I had to answer some emails, I had to answer some text, I had to hop on a couple phone calls, but nobody there with me felt like it was like that. Most people didn't even notice I was peeking in my phone, I would imagine. Definitely not my kids, because it was a 0.5% of my time doing that, 99.5% doing what I normally do. And what I came to realize, kind of bigger picture for me, was now that I own it and it's my baby, it's okay to not want to completely separate from it, right? That means I'm extremely passionate about it, right? When I'm passionate about something, I was passionate about my career in the sense it was something I had to do to earn an income, and I'm passionate about anything I'm involved with. I want to do well. But when you own it, there's a different level of passion and just connection that I don't want to separate from. And so what I realized, like early in the week when I was in the Outer Banks, um, that I can have these resets. I can kind of have my cake and eat it too. I can have these resets where I'm not grinding all day, every day, um, but I'm still paying attention to it. And it's okay to be thinking about things and thinking about next creative ideas and stuff. I actually think the best when I'm relaxed. I'm on vacation, I'm relaxed. Why wouldn't I think about these things? So there's that piece of it. But again, I can't foresee myself unless I'm in an area that literally has, like on a cruise where you have no service or something like that. But truly having any desire to disconnect from whatever business I'm involved with if I have ownership in it, or if I'm a critical piece of whatever's going on. So that I've kind of had this epiphany over the last 2 weeks. And what really became a challenge is we came home from the Outer Banks, and a day and a half later, Katie and I are hopping on a plane heading to the Bahamas. So another week semi disconnected from my business. Now, that whole week, it was just Katie and I. I was able to do, it wasn't much needed, but I was able to pay attention to my business and do so in a relaxed manner. Like, I might be drinking a mojito 1 minute and then the next minute going and answering an email I had to take care of, but I was still relaxed. And where the shift has occurred, and like I've been really thinking about it since I got back this week from the Bahamas. I don't think I cannot like I used to think retirement to me, like here's how I envision retirement. I had nothing to think about as far as like earning money or trying to build something. I would wake up every day. If it was hunting season, I might hunt. If it was golfing season, I might golf. If it was summer, we might spend time at our cottage in the Outer Banks, assuming we have one. We might spend, months traveling the world. We might be in Greece, Italy. We might be in Hawaii through retirement. And what I've come to realize is I still want to do all those things, but it doesn't have to be in the absence of trying to grow something, right? I don't think my mind will ever stop wanting to be a part of some type of growth. Now, as I get older and priorities shift a little bit and stuff like that, where maybe it doesn't become so necessary to grow in the sense of like growing income or money or wealth. It might be growing a nonprofit. It might be growing a charitable organization, something like that. But I think until the day I die, I'm going to always have to have this, and I hate the word grind mentality, because to a lot of people that means something that I am not on board with, and that means just work nonstop. I'm not on board with that. I think nonstop, but definitely not trading my time for dollars all the time. Like time meaning I show up somewhere and I work and I grind. That's not the grind I'm talking about. When I say I have no desire to not grind, I'm talking about to not be thinking and trying to move the needle in some way. And I think that's going to stick with me until the day I die, whether that be, tomorrow or 50 years from now. I think I'm going to have this mindset. So now the importance of this reset is for me, I envision a path where I can do more travel, more of these things where I'm relaxing but also working simultaneously or balancing the two at the same time. And I used to like correlate if I'm going to fly somewhere or drive somewhere and stay for a week, that's all I need to like if I have to think about anything else but that trip, then it's not worth doing. And I've completely done a 180 there. Like I envision a path, and obviously the kids are in school and stuff like that, so you can't travel but so much, but where we're doing a lot more travel, and it's understood that some of that's going to be daddy waking up early in a couple mornings to knock out some work stuff, or I might have to hop on a Zoom call or something like that. And I can still get that satisfaction of relaxation and traveling the world and seeing new places and experiencing new things while also tending to whatever it is I'm trying to build and grow. So I used to think, again, reset was completely disconnect from everything else other than what I was sitting in at that moment, whether that be a beach vacation or a golf trip or whatever. I have now come to the realization that the two don't have to be isolated from one another. And I think that is going to open up my mind and my ability to take on more experiences, realizing that I don't have to leave everything behind when it comes to business to enjoy those experiences. So that has been a very eye-opening experience over the last 2-3 weeks for me, and something that I'm going to continue to evolve and work on, because I definitely don't want to get to a point where I'm taking these quote unquote resets or vacations and they get dominated by me doing business, right? I don't want to get to that point, but the two can coexist without me feeling like I'm not getting that reset and that energy I need from it. That sounds woo-woo to even say it that way, but that's kind of where my head is now. So, it's like these past 2 weeks doing it the way I did it, which is way different than I typically do when we travel. Um, it made me excited to kind of experience it in a different way than I have compared to all these other years. It made me realize that, if you had asked me 3-4 years ago, could I get to a point where where work and business coexisted with vacation? Could I get to a point where I'd be comfortable with that? I would have said no. The two are separate, and I'm going to always keep them separate. And now I don't feel like that at all. Again, there's a balance, and I manage this balance, right? I have to work on that or continue to work on that. But I don't want to be on a vacation with my family or friends or whatever and it get consumed by me doing work all the time. So there is a balance, but I've completely changed it. But the reset is so important. I left it was 3 weeks ago now when we went to the Outerbanks. I left really needing a break, just a mental break. I felt like I needed it anyway. And I came back from the Bahamas 2 weeks later, realizing that I not only did I get that break, it didn't have to come at the cost of the business at all. I was able to hop on calls as needed with the rest of the team. I was able to answer emails. I was able to help when I needed to help, if the guys had any questions or anything like that. I talked to several investors while I was out of town. Talked to several borrowers. Did all those communications and did not feel like I was compromising that. Like I needed to get away and relax a little bit, but I didn't feel like I compromised doing that by still keeping my hands a little bit in business. So I'm truly rambling now, but there is a point here that um, I talk about it a little bit, or I have on other episodes, but this grind mentality, this mentality of you have to trade time and energy at a max level to get a return for that to take care of your family. And I don't subscribe to that at all. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, no, there's no work life balance is BS and all that. I don't agree. It's perfectly doable if you approach it with the intent of doing it, right? And so a grind mentality, typically that grind culture is you go hard, sun up to sundown, even at night, put the kids to bed, go back at it. You're not going to be able to do all these things. You're not going to be able to be at all the ball games because you're providing a life for them, right? So you justify working your literal ass off nonstop to provide a quote unquote life for the ones you love. When at the end of the day, most spouses and children do not give a crap about all the hard work you're putting. Like, they care, they respect it, but what they're going to remember is the time you spend with them, the experiences and memories you make, all of that. So if you're compromising all that and justifying it by providing a life from them, no, you're not. You're not. You're providing things, material things. You're paying some bills. You're doing all that, but you're not providing a life. A life is hanging out with those kids as much as you possibly can, and to them feeling like it's more times than not, you're there. You're present, you're involved, you're engaged, you're there. That's a life. And if you have to trade some money, some wealth, some earnings to get that implemented into your life and into your family's lives, it's always going to be worth it, right? Now, people are going to argue that, oh, in your 20s and 30s and 40s, you just got to go grind and make all the money you can and enjoy it later. I don't agree with that. I can do both. I can make money, could probably make more money if I grinded. And by grind, I'm talking about the typical definition, because when I'm working, I'm grinding, but it ain't all the time. Like, I'm not going to kill myself to earn a few extra dollars just so, in trade off of being with my family and kids. It's not going to happen. So, and the people that have that mindset, they look at vacation as a reset. That's their time to escape, and they might get it once or twice a year. It doesn't have to be that way. And again, that's kind of summarizes the epiphany I've had over the last couple weeks. It's not going to be that way for me. I am going to travel. I'm going to create experiences and memories for my family as long as I have them under my roof. My kids are only going to be around for so much longer, and I'm going to create so much experience for them. And then a whole nother podcast episode could be on how I can manage that so that they're not spoiled and they're not entitled and stuff like that. I've got strategies, and Katie and I do, to mitigate that, but I'm not gonna compromise my time with them, potential experiences, potential travel, just to go make a few extra dollars. And I challenge those that are listening that have that mindset. You may not agree with me, but just think through it. Think, does little Johnny, so he can be happier with you staying in the office until 7 o'clock to potentially make a little bit more money so you can, buy him a nicer car when he's 16? You think he's going to be happier with that? Or you coming home at 4 o'clock and spending 3 hours going on a walk with him, or throwing the ball with him, or swimming with him? Little Johnny wants the time. Little Johnny will remember the time. I had a couple days ago, I posted it on social media, but I'm sitting there. It was one of the few days that I was working literally from home with the kids there and stuff like that. I try not to do that much because I have a tough time balancing that. But I'm sitting there in my recliner, got my laptop out, and I look, and here comes JJ down the steps, and he had dressed himself up. He had a full black outfit on. He had snorkel mask on, flippers, and a book bag that was his air tank, and he said he was scuba diving, right? Silliest, like it was as silly as you can imagine. Well, I took a little video of him coming down the steps and swimming around on the floor. And then I paused everything I was doing and spent the next hour scuba diving with him. We went all throughout the house. I put my mask and flippers on, and we scuba dived for an hour. JJ will never forget that. It was 1 hour of my time that I took away. So I apologize, folks. I'm going to keep recording. This does not have video from this point on. So if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize, but I'm about to wrap up anyway. We lost our camera feed. Still have audio feed from what I can see, so I'm going to wrap this up. But to finish on the point I was making, JJ will much more remember that hour I spent with him, kind of unplanned, and, spent the time scuba diving with him. He'll remember that the rest of his life. He would not have remembered an extra $1,000 I was able to generate in that hour if I would have worked instead of doing that with him. So that is enough of the ramble on that. And again, I ask all of you to challenge yourselves, or I challenge all of y'all. Just think about how you view vacations, resets, what you're doing when you're not on vacation, what you're doing when you're with your kids, when you're with your spouses, when you're not. And for me, the epiphany has been, I can do more of that. I can do more getting away, more travel, doing stuff with my family, and also continue moving the needle in business without it compromising anything. And that's a big shift for me. So think about it. Again, this was a quick ramble. No video feed at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I appreciate y'all hanging in there for another weekly ramble, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Burning the Ships. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, 608B Capital, helping real estate investors secure fast, reliable funding to fuel their boldest moves. If you're ready to take your investing to the next level, visit 608bcapital.com to learn more. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps us reach more people who are ready to burn the ships and commit fully to their goals. And don't forget to share the episode with someone who needs that extra push to take bold action. I'll leave you with this. Burning the ships isn't just about removing the option to retreat. It's about unlocking the courage to charge forward. No matter the odds, the past is behind you and the future is yours to conquer. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Burning the Ships.